Hello and welcome to Wake and Jake. Happy New Year. Hope you had a good holiday season. Sports are back, and we actually have a lot to catch up on because we took the week off. Company kind of does that, and it was just easier. I was in Alabama. Maybe I'll tell some tales about that. BBD is in Europe, so Matty Mass is here.
The rumor is BBD was killed because the Yankees didn't get Yamamoto.
That's spreading the office,
Yeah.
the internet. Matty Mass, you may know him from Morning with John Boy.
Those Geo guys, please.
Yeah, I was going to say. We're going to run through, there's been a chunk of baseball signings, so that'll be the meat of it. We'll clip some football as they come up on the final week of the regular season. Matty says no football, only football.
Football.
Your Man United lost this week.
Don't say that.
Okay. We're not going to do that. I also might mention the college football because the games were fun and I watched them yesterday. But let's catch up on baseball. It's all brought to you by shop.johnboymedia.com. Go buy yourself a shirt for the new year. Pretty basic. Pretty straightforward. So the biggest transactions that we have missed over the break, still free agency is sputtering. I think we're playing a weird game of chicken where teams don't want to pay Snell at his highest value. They're not sure about paying Monty at his highest value. Matt Chapman, people aren't sure what his value's at. And I think the trade market should be coming in hot. And we had our first trade, and I think the names may be bigger than the trade. Your Boston Red Sox, Matty.
This is a bad ep for me so far.
The Red Sox and Man U, that's tough for you, huh? They traded away Chris Sale. So you obviously know Chris Sale. He got the last out in the 2018 World Series, one of the more dominant and gross in a complimentary way left-handed pitchers we've seen. He's dealt with a lot of injuries in recent years. He also pitched kind of more than I thought last year, and the numbers aren't super impressive. It's a 4.3 ERA in 20 starts, 102 innings, 125 strikeouts. So the strikeout stuff is still there. You're pitching at Fenway, which is going to lead to a boosted ERA. This surprised us a little bit because Chris Sale's still getting paid. Red Sox are eating most of that, and they're covering that tab. I think for the Red Sox, they found themselves in a weird area of if we're paying Chris Sale that amount of money, you can't picture him pitching a full season. These are Chris Sale's innings pitched by most recent seasons. 102 last year. That's good. Or actually, it's kind of not. But it's 20
for
starts
him.
For where he's been. Because the year before that, it was 5.2 innings. The year before that, 42.2. He did not pitch in 2020. So in the past 4 years, we've pitched 151 innings, which that's kind of what you'd want in one season from your starting pitcher. So for where the Red Sox rotation is at, and I'm interested to see the rest of their offseason because we do have to talk about friend of the program, Lucas Giolito. Chris Rose rotation, going to be a Boston guy. Have a hot take on that. Not really. It's actually a joke. I was going to say if Sydney Sweeney breaks up with her boo, I don't know. She's got some Boston ties.
She has some.
Lucas Giolito's 6'7".
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. That's just on your radar. If Sydney Sweeney breaks up with her boo. I love Sydney Sweeney, man.
That would be a crazy clip a year from now.
She's the first celeb that I think I would treat like a celeb in a long time.
Oh, really?
Like if I saw Sydney Sweeney, I'd be like, oh my God. So nice to meet you.
Do you watch her movies? She just came out with one, right?
So I haven't seen the new one. Jess does want to go see that. No, I liked her. I mean, she's obviously very pretty. I'll be honest about that.
Okay, honesty.
Caught a little bit of Euphoria, but I really liked her. What's the boo, 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 boo. White Lotus. White Lotus. All right, so that was your Sydney Sweeney recap. Back to the trade. I tweeted this out For the Braves, this is a greedy move. How about that girl that sings the song Greedy? Tate. Okay. Jake, stop. You're not a pop culture guy. You got to be honest with yourself. It's not going to happen. I said for the Braves, it's high risk, fun rewards, ? Their goal, which them and the Dodgers are basically the two teams with this luxury, is get guys healthy for the playoffs. If Chris Sale is healthy for the playoffs, whether he's been a good starting pitcher or they can put him in the bullpen, he's a dynamite weapon for him. So for them, it's a game of chicken of keeping him healthy to the playoffs because the two teams that are also probably going to be there, the Dodgers, Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani. So if Chris Sale's only job is to get them out in the 7th inning, I mean, the Braves are that good that they can do that. Like, that's where they're positioned. They can get, if Chris Sale's healthy, he's still one of the toughest lefties to hit against. And it doesn't matter if you have lefty-righty splits because he throws from first base, basically. So the Braves are going greedy. And what if they're the Braves and they are sicko and they could get 150 innings out of him this year? Like, I don't think they're even banking on that, and I don't even think they might try for that. Chris Sale can still be really good. The strikeout numbers from last year, and I don't even think they care. I think it's get him healthy to the playoffs. If he can start and give you 5 innings, cool. If he can come in for that lane against Ohtani Freeman or Schwarber Harper, they kind of got the best lefty they could get without having to pay Josh Hader. Let's see if they're still in on Josh Hader. Peter Moylan thinks that's a landing spot for them. For the Red Sox, I think they get away from the innings risk of Chris Sale. Like, their rotation's already in a messy place, although we'll get to Giolito dating Sydney Sweeney again. That'll just be, we'll put her in the thumbnail, Manny.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
No. Innings-wise, the risk for the Red Sox is scary because they still need innings. Coming off a year where James Paxton actually gave them some starts. He is currently a free agent. Their rotation as of today is Lucas Giolito, penciled in the 1 spot.
Wow.
Nick Pivetta, Brian Bayo, Tanner Houck, and Cutter Crawford. I don't know what you can pencil in from those guys. I think Giolito you can pencil in innings. We'll see about performance. Pivetta in a similar way. Bayo, they kind of want him to take the jump, and that'll be his age 24, 25 season. Houck struggled last year. Crawford, his stats ended up better than I thought. But either way, the Red Sox need to lock in some more innings, and I think you'll see them do that more in free agency. Giolito in, Sale out for the Red Sox, I think, is a win because they need those innings, like I said. And they get Vaughn Grissom back, Vaughn Grissom, if you've been listening to Talkin' Baseball, which tune in tomorrow as we cover all of this, people thought he was going to win the shortstop job for the Braves. He gets beat up by Arcia, who'd been kind of a journeyman. Arcia goes nuts because he's on the Braves, and that's all the Braves do. Vaughn Grissom, he just turned 23. He dominated minor league baseball last year. He never really got the opportunity with the Braves. He played 23 games. He had 80 plate appearances at the major league level. They did not go well. Career at the major league level, he's had 64 games, 287, 339, a 746 OPS, 105 OPS plus. Most of that's from 2022 when he was 21 years old. So I think there was some Vaughn Grissom fatigue because we talked about him a lot being the next guy for the Braves. And the Braves, they're minor league. They called it Michael Harris too. Now here's Vaughn Grissom. He'll just take over for Dansby, and the Braves machine will continue to go. That didn't happen, although it did happen for the Braves. It was just with Arcia. Vaughn Grissom, he turns 23 January 5th. So in 3 days.
HBD.
As we record this. So he's still 22 years old. So think about whatever prospect you like in your team's organization. They're probably around that age. And they probably haven't had the success again, mild success at the major league level, but still some success. Last year in AAA, he hit .330 with a .419 on base and a .921 OPS. In the minor leagues the year before that, he hit .324 with a .405 on base and an .899 OPS. So Vaughn Grissom has hit in the minor leagues at an extremely high level. He has in the minors, his OPS at high A, double A, and triple A are all in the 9s, all with batting averages in the 300s. So he couldn't play defensive shortstop, and is what it is. A lot of guys can't. It's kind of one of the weird things in baseball. It's like NFL quarterbacks. There's usually 16 to 20 guys that can play NFL quarterback. It's kind of the same with shortstops. It's really hard to play that position every day defensively and also contribute on offense. I assume what the Red Sox are going to do, they're going to pencil him to second base. That's what every Braves fan was telling me on Twitter, that he's a second baseman only. If he can hit at anywhere near the level he can potentially hit at, he's a really good second baseman. Like, he almost has Gleyber Torres potential. And to get that for a hurt, expiring Chris Sale that wasn't going to benefit them a lot, that's potentially a massive grab. He could be their second baseman for the next 5 years. So I love the trade for Boston. They potentially have a guy in their lineup. It's a hitting ballpark. It's Fenway. That if Vaughn Grissom can hit at like a league average level, being at Fenway, that'll boost his stats a little more. And he could be doing that from age 23 to 28 for the Boston Red Sox. Love the trade for them. The only thing that you'd want to put an asterisk on is, why did the Braves trade him? He still had options. I want to make sure I've got that right. He still has 2 options. So the Braves could have kept him around their team for the next 2 years, and they could have called him up, called him down. They could have done whatever they wanted for them. And Braves fans, they were replying to my tweet saying, we don't need him. And if you've been following the Braves, you kind of believe him, right? Because they have Ozzie Albies at second. He's locked up on one of the most team-friendly contracts in baseball. Young, thick Austin Riley, him and Matt Olson play every day. And then shortstop, Orlando Arcia, who won the job. And that's the one position that the Braves agree he can't play. So, yes, he was locked, and he was supposedly going to compete for left field. They traded for Jared Kelenic. There's talks of maybe platooning them. I don't think he's, for a young baseball player, I don't think he was a good outfielder. A lot of guys can get better, but that is what it is. I guess here's my thing. The Braves bench is currently listed as David Fletcher, handsome, short. Lurie Garcia, sure. And Forrest Wall, who's 28 years old, fun name. I don't know what expectations they'll necessarily have for them. Now, free agency is still going. The Braves haven't done a ton of moves. I think they're going to fill out their bench with veterans that, you know, I could see David Fletcher being the only guy that I just mentioned that maybe stays on the bench just as a contact bench infielder. Because, again, the Braves don't really need a bench infield. All those guys play every day. But Braves fans probably don't want to hear this, and maybe I've just been spurned by your Yankees, Matty. I'll bring you back in properly.
Thank you.
Injuries happen. I know the Braves haven't had too much of them.
Albies, no?
Albies in 22 played 64 games. I thought he played less games last year. He ended up playing 148, which I think he got banged up at one point.
Yeah, he did. That's like, surprising.
That's like best case for the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
Like to say a Yankee's going to play 148 games. I guess I have been scorned or spurned? Scorned?
It's like spork. You just sporned?
Reply in the comments, Sydney Sweeney. What happens if, like in 2022, Ozzie Albies gets hurt and plays 64 games? Like, I just, for Chris Sale, who was on the discount rack, like, I know the Red Sox are eating a lot of the money. I know Chris Sale has lefty potential that kind of you can't tap into otherwise. Even if the counter to that would be Josh Hader, who's still a free agent, and you're going to have to give him probably $100 million over 5 years. So if they didn't want to do that, they just got Sale for this year and they punt on Grisham, which maybe there's other Grisham stuff within the organization, and that's why they were willing to move on. Maybe he's never going to play any defense, even at second base. But I don't know. A young ball player that can potentially hit how he can hit for 1 year of Chris Sale. I don't know. I'm not surprised the Braves moved him. He's obviously blocked in the infield. I guess I'm surprised if they were willing to move Vaughn Grissom, the Dylan Ceases or the Corbin Burns or Shane Bieber. I would have thought they could have gone and gotten one of them with a piece like Vaughn Grissom. Who knows if the other teams were interested? It takes two to tango. And maybe the big thing they're thinking about here is playoffs and lefty Chris Sale being nasty against those nasty lefties on the other National League teams. So kind of a gluttonous move by the Braves. Maybe we'll look back and say it's brilliant as Chris Sale is mowing down lefty hitters in the postseason. I was a little surprised by the price tag. I like the trade by Boston. I think it gives them an opportunity to have a really good ball player for the next 5 years or so. As I mentioned, Sidney Sweeney's boyfriend, Lucas Giolito. He gets a pretty nice bag from the Red Sox. 2 years, I think it's $38 million with an opt-out after this year if he pitches well, which is kind of the dream starting pitcher contract. If Lucas Giolito has a good year, he'll opt out and he'll get 9 figures. And baseball free agency is all about timing, so good for him. We love Lucas Giolito. He's been really nice to us. He's going to give you innings. I already gave you that part of the Red Sox spiel. Since 2018, these are his innings pitched. 173, 176. 2020, shortened season, he made all 12 starts, 72 innings. 178, 161, 184.1. So Lucas Giolito is built like a horse. Him and his brother are both monsters. Met them briefly at spring training. And I usually feel okay around tall people. They were both just like a tick up that was uncomfortable. So Lucas Giolito, tall, confirmed. Listed 6'6". I might give him 6'8", if we're being honest. Maybe it was the spikes. Maybe I was on the low ground. The problem, and maybe there's a quick fix, and also he got thrown around at the end of the season. If you remember, he got traded to the Angels as part of them trying to save Ohtani's last year with them. Things fell apart so quickly that he was part of that free Angels release party that he got picked up by Cleveland, who was out of it, but they just needed innings to finish their season. So Lucas Giolito at one point, 21 starts, a 3.79 ERA with the Chicago White Sox. That's pretty good. 6 starts with the Angels, 6.89 ERA. 6 starts with Cleveland, a 7.04 ERA. So that's pretty brutal. I mean, was that environment? Was that bad luck? Were pitching coaches telling him to do something different? Were they telling him nothing? Because they didn't know him, and they just said, go out there for 6 games. I don't know. Maybe we should ask him. Maybe I'll tell Chris Rose to ask him that. He led baseball in home runs allowed with 41, and he's going to Fenway Park. That's a scary proposition. I will say this, something I usually come back to with athletes, or baseball players especially, is if you have one thing you need to improve, I kind of like that. For Lucas Giolito, his whole offseason plan should be giving up less home runs. And let's say last year's a slight outlier. In those other seasons I've mentioned, he is a pitcher that gives up home runs. I don't know if that's being a fastball changeup guy. I don't know what that is. His home run totals by year, 27, 24, 27, 24. You're giving up some home runs. I mean, around one a game. Last year, he gave up 41. So maybe it was fluky, and that number levels off. If it's not, and he's pitching at Fenway Park, it's just a scary home run number. It's just a scary number. I like that the Red Sox get innings. I'm just worried. Coming off the year before that, he had a 4.9 ERA. Last year, he had a 4.88. In a somewhat contract year, pillow contract year, because he could just opt into that second season. I don't know if he's going to be able to get the stats that he'll want to hit free agency. The AL East is always tough. Yankees lineup should actually be serviceable this year. The Rays are the Rays. Remember how good offensively they were last year. The Toronto Blue Jays should be able to hit, and the baby Orioles could be a nightmare next year. So I like the grab for the Red Sox, for Lucas Giolito to be penciled in as your one right now. Coming off the season he had, that's a little daunting. If Lucas Giolito was the fourth starter on the Dodgers, I think we'd all be like, here we go. Giolito season. The Dodgers have the sauce, man. He goes to Boston. And hey, outside of when he's playing for the Yankees, I'm going to root for him because he's been a nice guy. Have you engaged with him at all?
I don't think so.
Mostly Rob Scirocco.
Yeah, a lot of Rob. And then you guys saw him at spring training.
Yeah. Good dude. Big guy. So that's what the Red Sox, they had a busy couple weeks. Sale out. Sale right now in that Braves rotation does slot in as the 4. Strider, Fried, Morton, Sale, Elder. The Braves will be back in some fashion next year. And let's see. I mean, they're saying that their GM, Alex Anthopoulos, came out with a quote that we take it day by day, and if guys need to skip a bullpen or need extra days between starts. So they're going to be conscious of where Sale's at, but they'll try him as a starting pitcher, and then I think if there's any injury, I think they'll limit him pretty good. Like it for the Red Sox, kind of all around. And maybe if they can fix whatever, Giolito's hard hit rate was really bad last year. Look at this stat. Lucas Giolito is one of 6 pitchers to throw at least 160 innings in each of the past 5 full seasons. No 2020. So 5 other guys. You got any guesses, Maddie?
Garrett Cole.
Garrett Cole.
Okay.
It's kind of why I threw it out there. I
Thank
thought
you.
Cole would come in.
Guys that don't get injured. That's it for me.
I'll lead you to one, I think. There was a guy that pitches a lot of innings that was like the first free agent signing this offseason. He signed with the same team.
Nola. Okay.
And then from there, it's Charlie Morton.
Yep. I wouldn't have said that.
Jose Berrios.
Okay.
And then Kyle Gibson.
I wanted to get that one.
I think if you wrote down 10 names, we would have gotten around it.
Yeah.
So Giolito should get you innings. Boston needs innings. Let's chew through another couple quick ones. Frankie Montas to the Reds. I was flip-flopping myself while talking it out, and I told Red fans on Twitter to reply and let me know how you're feeling. They were generally happy. Frankie Montas has left a bad/weird taste in Yankees fans' mouths because it was him or Luis Castillo at the trade deadline. Mariners got Luis Castillo. He was nasty. The Yankees got Montas. He was hurt. And then he was hurt the whole season. Then there was the Yankees rehabbed him back, and he pitched in like the last game of the year, which everyone was like, hey, is that just a favor to him? Is that because the Yankees maybe want him to come back on a 1-year deal? So maybe they were being nice to him. He signs with the Cincinnati Reds, who they have now signed him and Nick Martinez to add some depth to their rotation. They're a team that a lot will depend on how good their young players become. Can Hunter Green become a true scary starting pitcher? He had a 4.82 ERA last year, but he struck out 152 batters in 112 innings. So if the light bulb goes off for Hunter Green, there's their one. Graham Ashcraft has put some good seasons together. Andrew Abbott came up and pitched well. So they've added depth to their rotation with Montas, who for 1 year does have a chance to potentially click. the part I didn't like, I'll get to that in a second. I had to take a step back because my initial reaction was I didn't love the signing. I didn't love the fit for Cincinnati mostly. But I think I do need to appreciate Cincinnati's offseason on the whole. They signed Jeimer Candelario, who I think after this offseason will be looked at as one of the best free agent contracts that came out of it. They got it done quickly. It's 3 years. He's a switch hitter. He can play first and third for them. They've got him listed as first base. He basically had one bad outlier season, so they added Jeimer Candelario to the middle of their lineup for, compared to some of the offseason prices, you like that. A switch hitter that may allow them to trade Jonathan India. We'll see. And what does that do for their team? Are they going to add more pitching? Let's find out. Their lineup looks really good. Right now, Christian Encarnacion Strand is listed as a bench player for them. He had a good season. Jake Fraley had a good season. He's currently listed as a bench guy. Let's see what they do offensively. No one really had them as a team for Jeimer, but he subs in kind of for Votto and a revolving door at first base. That, okay, I like that for Cincinnati. If you had told me before the offseason that they signed Montas and Nick Martinez, I'd say, okay, all right, the Reds, you did something. You've bolstered your team. The Chicago Cubs still haven't really done anything. That I like the move for Cincinnati. It's solid. They're building something. They also signed Emilio Pagan in their bullpen. I'd like to see a little more in their bullpen if I'm being honest. But maybe that could be Jonathan India trade. Maybe they don't trade him. Right now, Jonathan India's listed as their DH in the 5-hole. So maybe they're just giving themselves options. Where I didn't like the 1-year signing for Frankie Montas, what are you guaranteed? He's coming off an injury. He threw 1 major league inning last year. What's your best case? I don't know. Is it 140 innings and he looks really good? Can you expect more than that? You might expect a lot less than that. I don't know. Let's see what they get. And I guess more so the fear on my end was if the Reds don't click this year, which I currently like the Reds. The Brewers might be selling. The Cubs haven't done anything yet. They've currently lost Belly and Stroman. So they're like in a hole, never mind building on what they did last year. Pirates are still kind of Pirates. The Cardinals signed starting pitchers that throw innings. Gibson, Sonny Gray, Lance Lynn. And I mean, their season got so out of whack that they should be better next year. It's how much better will they be? Let's say it doesn't happen for the Reds. The Cubs re-sign Belly, Stroman, and they do a trade, or they sign Snell, or the Cubs were supposedly in an Ohtani. Let's say the division gets better. Let's say the Brewers don't sell. They've been kind of the class of the division for a little while. Let's say injuries happen. Let's say young players struggle. A lot of young players struggle at Major League Baseball. If next year isn't the year for the Reds, it's tough for me picturing them getting back involved in free agency. Like if the Reds have a 500 year next year, they were 82-80 last year. They're banking on so many young players to get better that if they don't take a step this year, I'm worried that they're not going to go back out in free agency and they're going to say, hey, we need these young guys to figure it out. That's where I would have liked a Dylan Cease for 2 years. Who knows what price tag they're asking for, so I can't just throw that out there. I wanted them to sign a pitcher with multiple years so that last year didn't feel like so next year doesn't feel like a do or die year, because the Cincinnati Reds just sneakily did this. In 2020, it was their all-in year. They traded for Bauer before the deadline. They had Sonny. That was like their go year. 2020 stunk. They got in that weird playoff with the Braves where just everyone was pitching, nobody was hitting, and they were out. And then it was over. They kind of went full rebuild, became one of the least respected franchises in baseball, and then all of a sudden they kind of turned around the ship. So I would have liked a multi-year guy that kind of showed, hey, for these next 2-3 years, the Cincinnati Reds mean business. With the 1 year of Montas, I don't know. It just feels it could be done and over like that.
I like Encarnacion Strand.
You like that name?
Well, he had a stretch of like 9 homers in 12 games last season. And as a daily homer draft guy, that was exciting. So he's got a little soft spot for me.
There were so many guys that hit on the Reds last year. The Yankees were so bad. It's just a constant reminder. Like, if you look at... There was like 10 guys on the Reds last year that would have been the Yankees' second best hitter. It's a joke. Stop talking about the Yankees. You already know what you signed up for at Wake and Jake. Subscribe, review. Couple other quick ones. Mitch Garver signed with the Mariners. If you remember, he was really good in the playoffs. He also was really good in the regular season. I don't know what's going on with his knees and defensively. He doesn't grade out super well. He hit a ton last year, and Seattle has Cal Raleigh anyways, that I think he's pretty much going to be their DH, and the Mariners are taking a chance on him. He has some numbers from previous seasons where, man, Mitch Garver, he doesn't jump in your head as necessarily a fearsome hitter, which maybe I'm being really rude. He has a few seasons with Minnesota, a 995 OPS, an 875 OPS. With Texas last year, it was 870. The only part that's scary, it's very limited games. He's only played over 100 games once, and that was 2018. So, hey, maybe the Mariners found some immense value here, and he slots in as an everyday DH, and that role fits him. And you also have like a third-string catcher if you need it. Also with catchers, God, the playoffs blew my mind last year. Almost every team had 2 really good catchers. I've done this on here before, but the Braves with Murphy and d'Arnaud, every team had depth at catcher. Garver slots in as their DH. Raleigh will catch. They have Sebi Zavala as a backup. I think Garver will catch if they need him to, but they probably won't need him to. I don't know. Mariners, kind of, what are you doing? They still traded away Kelnick for a salary dump, which I think there was a good reaction on Morning with John Boy to that. Did I dream that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember that, but wouldn't be surprised.
Well, maybe I was just sneaking another ad in there. Good for you, Mariners fans. Maybe. Maybe not. Yeah. Then the other one, Kevin Kiermaier returns to Toronto. Good. 1 year, $10.5 million. He was really good last year defensively. OPS in the mid-7s. Kevin Kiermaier as a lefty outfielder. I know Yankee fans were into him for a while. I think any team should be into him because even if it's just defense, you're getting value there because he can still go and get it. He also hit at a really solid rate last year that I was fine with him being a Yankees 1 year guy. Didn't happen. 1 year, $10.5 million. Cool. Run it back. Blue Jays still need lefties. Blue Jays outfield defense was like legendary last year, and he was a big part of that. Him and Varsho are gross out there. Sure. If you heard or if you're watching on YouTube and saw me exhale, the Blue Jays signed Isaiah Kiner-Falefa for 2 years, $15 million. Now, I'll bring you all on the roller coaster ride a little bit. You all probably know, if you're a Yankee fan or if you've been tuning into this program, the Yankees traded for Donaldson and IKF. It was a massive trade. It was right after the lockout ended. We were in Arizona. Breaking news. A bunch of Yankee fans. Everyone's freaking out.
Dan Rourke goes crazy.
Gary and Gio, who left, were 2 fan favorites at certain points. Gary had fallen out of favor at that point, but Gio was still kind of beloved. And it was like, okay, we're bringing in Josh Donaldson. Sure, this guy's got an MVP resume. Even in kind of a down year, his stats were still really solid. The Yankees were going to get another thumper in the middle of the lineup. That didn't really pan out. The other part of that, and what they openly admitted, was IKF was going to play shortstop for a year and be a stopgap. They openly said that. We held on to those words a lot. Stopgap. He has played to his baseball card every year. The offensive stats end up in an oddly similar spot every year, and they're not a great spot. His career batting average, 261. Sure, that's okay. But On base is 314. Slugging is 346. No. OPS of 660. That's career. Last year, his numbers were below that. So hitting free agency, his numbers were below that. Career 81 OPS plus. He will be 29 next season. He has increased his versatility. Last year for the Yankees, he played all over, I think, every outfield spot, every infield spot, except first base and catcher. And if you remember, he came up as a catcher just to take an opportunity. So the guy is a versatility option. Sure, I won't knock him for that. You'll get a little bit of speed. He stole how many? He stole 14 stolen bases in 113 games last year. That's okay. He stole 22 the year before that, before the big bags, playing every day. That's fine. When he plays every day, he can rack up defensive WAR at shortstop and third base. Third base, he looks good. Like Yankee fans, we kind of had some laughing moments because he won a Gold Glove at third base. Looks pretty good at third base. He didn't get a ton of opportunities over there. At shortstop, he cooks the books a little bit with defensive WAR. He has solid range. He plays really deep, so he cuts a lot of balls off. His arm strength doesn't reek of shortstop, and he gets himself in trouble on some routine balls that was really frustrating for Yankee fans. Him signing a 2-year, I thought he was going to sign 1 year, $4 million with the team. Maybe I was too close to the situation because IKF kind of fell out of love with Yankee fans, and then they fell back in love with him, the utility IKF. Clearly, so Blue Jays fans, and I asked Dalton this morning because I was like, Dalton, there's too many Yankee fans in this office. Like, are we just blind? Are we being rude? The contract kind of blew my mind. He was like, no. They have Santiago Espinal, who can offer them the same thing under, an arbitration contract with the team. They have a bunch of guys that play infield and outfield that you'd want to play. I mean, Davis Schneider came up and was great for them last year. Santiago Espinal, similar to IKF. Kevin Biggio kind of figured it out again towards the end of last year. So infield, Bo Bichette's their shortstop. Outfield, I just told you they re-signed Kiermaier. They have Dalton Varsho and George Springer. So if he is a bench piece for them, it's tough for me to imagine the contract being worthwhile. The only thing I could spin in my head is that if they do something similar to the Yankees, we've wondered if a Blue Jays trade is coming. Bichette and Vladdy are on a similar timeline. I'd expect Toronto to extend one of them. There was rumors of Bo Bichette trades. I am wondering if the Toronto Blue Jays are really considering trading Bo Bichette because IKF is your everyday shortstop for a year. He's going to get you 3 to 4 WAR, which teams care about that. And maybe that can allow the Blue Jays to go out and add other pieces to their team by trading for Bichette. Maybe that's crazy. Maybe IKF is more solid than I give him credit for, and they just want a ball player on their team. Off the field and like hustle and effort, the guy provides everything you want. I was a little surprised by it. Good for IKF. I hope he's great, except when he's playing the Yankees. So that was kind of the little... That was the baseball catch-up that we were ready for. Football-wise, on Wake and Jake, we've kind of missed 2 episodes. The playoffs are forming, and maybe that's where I can kind of... Well, I'll tee up a little bit, or I'll just tell you what I'm really thinking. The Ravens are awesome. The Niners are awesome. Everyone else has such big question marks. NFL fans are truly rooting for those teams to continue to go. Lamar Jackson basically won the MVP in the past couple weeks. That was cool to watch. The Cowboys-Lions was such a fun Saturday game with both coaches trying to lose it. / not Dan Campbell. He kind of got screwed by the refs, stinking. And McCarthy gets covered over all of that. The other fun thing that I think I'll hit quick, Justin Fields has Bears fans chanting for him. That is becoming a fun situation. A Chicago team that has been franchise that's been so thirsty for a quarterback. It looks like Fields is picking up as the season goes, and they already locked in the 1 pick. And Caleb Williams, I don't know. People aren't excited as they were. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. The Eagles have turned to straight buns. What's that about?
I don't know, but I'm happy about it.
You're a Philly guy.
But I was a New York sports fan,
right.
And that makes me, Philly fans didn't like that, and now I have a little bit of resentment. So I'm not going to complain on the 1-5 stretch there.
It's crazy how bad they've gotten. We had a lot of baseball to catch up on. Maybe Wednesday will be a little heavier football. College football playoff was fun yesterday. There's 2 good games. If you watch that or you're into that, I'm excited that they're expanding the playoffs because the other bowl games don't matter unless you have an edible Pop-Tart nowadays. So let's expand that just a little bit. And yeah, this weekend we can line up the playoff scenarios. Maybe we'll grab a Justin Pennick or something like that. Otherwise, we got to get Maddie to coffee. And I probably have to do stuff. So thank you. Good to be back. Hope everyone's having a happy new year. No tales from Alabama either. Not much to tell. Gonna be honest with you. Long car ride both ways. We had fun. Thank you guys. We'll see maybe Thursday. Weird week. Holidays.